All right, officially warm welcome and good morning to another morning coffee series session. My name is Satu Ahlman. I'm the founder of Saga Performance, and together with me, I have the negotiation expert, my business partner, Pavel Novak. And these are part of our master coaching for executive negotiators program, these sessions that we wanted to open for the, let's say, the public audience, although it is invitation only, but for you guys also to be able to enjoy and enter this dialogue in these important topics. So this is the first one for this year, 2021. And it is all about written negotiations and email and text negotiations. So I'm very eager to hear what Pavel has to tell us. We're gonna keep it short and concise, of course, as always. Feel free to drop in those questions in the chat and we will get right into it. My first question to Pavel will be this morning, why does this actually matter? Because it sounds so sort of, you could say, boring and simple. Texting, writing, do we actually do that? And is it more important now than it was last year or before last year? Written negotiations, tell us, why does this matter?
Okay, thanks, Satu. Good morning, everyone. We have some old friends and hopefully new friends joining us. And a reminder, this is a Q&A session, so please shoot your questions through chat if you feel like it. To answer your question, Satu, if anybody who's been in the business of talking to people outside their companies, but also within the companies, the end of last year or the second half, we had a difficulty actually meeting face to face because of the pandemic. So what we did instead, we did the Zoom calls, video conferencing or Teams, whatever. And then, of course, we send messages. And the reason why we chose to focus on the written messages these days, today, is that we did Zoom last time, but also that the medium actually plays a role. So it's not a neutral playing field. Whether you choose to use a written communication, you will have a different characteristics. If you negotiate via Zoom, there are certain things you need to be aware of. And of course, meeting face to face is again a different thing. So we have a few basic
Oh, wow.
information, concepts for you,
Cool.
at the risk of being too long, and that's why I'm inviting you to shoot your questions. First thing, email is an asynchronous communication channel. What do I mean by that? It has probably happened to you that you send an email to someone and in between somebody else send an email back. That's what I mean asynchronous. Normally, when we talk, it's one person talks and the other person answers or listens or says something. So the medium itself, once you start communicating in written, it's actually a less communicative, a less cooperative process.
And it's funny, sorry to interrupt, because first, now that I was thinking about it, I felt like, okay, email is actually quite a slow tool to use in negotiation because you have to wait for the reply and all that. But then the second thought was, oh, that is actually dangerously fast nowadays because I'm looking at the header email is now in our pockets. And that becomes a huge risk, I think.
Well, I think it's both, right? The fact that technology enables us to have it in our pocket, it makes it much faster than we thought. I remember a couple of years back, I'm not that old, hopefully, we would take pride in emptying our inbox. And we would really answer the emails and it would take 1 or 2 days, and if it was later, it was too late. And we had a chat yesterday about how the younger generation you work with, some of your clients, if you send them an email, they go like, it feels like a fax.
Yes, because I don't even get the response. With some of the high performing athletes or elite athletes that I work with, I have to communicate with them through Instagram or through WhatsApp or SMS, because if I send them an email, I have to wait for a week, and then I message them with another device, and I ask, like, did you receive my email? And they're like, oh, I need to go and check. for them, it's really an effort. I need to go and check my emails.
Oh, email. It's somewhere, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it's partially, responsible for this number 3, that all you need is actually somebody's email address. And
Yeah.
we've all received our portion of spam. So just, we don't trust the messages so easily, and we have to work harder, actually. And of course, diminished privacy. You never know who's reading your email. You don't know if there is a group of people sending the email.
True.
So all this is actually happening. And the last one is linked to what you said, Satu. Today, this can be dangerously fast. But it's also, we pay less attention to written communication in general.
Exactly. And I think that also nicely links it back to some of the topics that we've been covering in the previous sessions last year about the sort of the risk of having a dopamine addiction with all these interruptions that you get and all these notifications that you get from emails popping up, messages from Messenger, WhatsApp, SMS, all that. And you feel like sort of a pride that you're getting these notifications and someone wants to talk to you, but that may also become a stress factor, and also this kind of a feeling that I need to react fast. I have so many people who want to talk to me, I'm important, and I need to react. And that may become then a risk that you're taking, either, well, consciously or subconsciously, most likely, that you just react and respond and you didn't have the time, and then it becomes a battle in the worst case.
And the other way around, Satu, you send an email or you send a message and nobody answers. It feels like cold turkey on that dopamine. It's like, hey, it's not coming. What's happening? What are they doing? They might have decided for something else. So
how do you handle that? How do you manage that so it won't become this kind of a stress?
It's kind of knowing the beast, I would say, is useful. So talking about the beast, what sort of platforms have people been using? I mean, it might be a good question to the audience. If you are sending, and let's not talk about emails, but you're sending written communication, are you using Slack? Are you using WhatsApp? Are you using Facebook Messenger? Are you using LinkedIn messages? How do you communicate in business? I mean, these days, that might be interesting to learn.
Yeah, and please write in the comments if you want to share.
And before we get some answers, I asked about that yesterday, Satu. What's the #1 platform in the world globally? And
yeah, what is it?
Let's see if somebody is mainly LinkedIn. LinkedIn, no, LinkedIn is not #1 globally.
Yeah, LinkedIn Messenger has become one of my favorites, I think, over email almost. I know that I use that to, let's say, make it shorter and easier to contact people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you also, WhatsApp is the #1. We have the name. It's like 2 billion subscribers. So that's 1/3 of the population, and it means all the people on Earth have a WhatsApp. And the use, of course, is expanding. So I think one of the messages is it's not going away. It's more. It's coming more.
Definitely.
And that leads to this next thing. And let me pause for a while for you to enjoy these funny, stories.
Yeah.
I like the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
That's perfect. You have these circulating on Facebook and in social media, and there are a lot of these kind of funny moments. I think it's so much fun to read them.
Yeah.
But it's the truth as well. This happens. This is the age gap that we have.
And it's the language of the teenagers, of the millennials, is actually entering business. So the YOLO, or well, not WTF probably, but lol. That was unacceptable a few years back. These days, everything is becoming a little bit less formal because the platforms are so fast, so much faster. You can send pictures. You don't do the formatting that much. You can only use capital letters or not. So it's emoji, etc.
Yeah. And that really is difficult for, let's say, a certain age group compared to the other age groups like millennials and beyond them, because it's so natural for them. Everything is emojis and everything is written. And let's say people maybe older than us are also struggling with the fact that we have to get used to videos. And then to also be able to do this without faces at all, meaning that there's only emojis and only text and not even emails anymore. Suddenly it's just WhatsApp. Is that the next thing where we're headed towards?
To build on that, somebody's just saying, when I don't use emoticons, I often get no smileys in response. So I guess because it's so harder just to meet face to face, the emoticons or even the likes on LinkedIn or the social media is kind of a way of like, hey, I know you're there, I care. So they are getting new meaning. Somebody said message SMS, like short messages, are still used. You know what my kids do? They turn the recording on and they actually record the messages by voice, and they have the phone translated into the written form. And so
nice.
There is a generation shift, and the whole thing depends on age. But let's explain the two terms above. I said earlier that the channel matters. And there's a useful theory called media richness theory, which says the richer the medium, by medium, what sort of signals or cues are you getting? Are you getting nonverbal? Are you getting the smell? Are proximity, touch, the tone of voice, the expression on the face, etc., etc. So the richer the medium, the easier the communication, and the fewer misunderstandings. And the recommendation is, if you have a complex issue, do sort it out face to face, because the medium is richer and you have more chances of understanding the other person. What would you say email or text messages is in terms of richness? Is it rich or lean?
Yeah, and I think that is a very interesting question, because I think the answer depends on, let's say, the age or the age group of the respondent. Does it?
Spot on, Satu. I would think that it's lean, but then when you look at how people are using it more and more, it's actually, there is this new theory, media expansion. Yeah, somebody's saying email is not rich.
Not rich. Yeah, fair.
There are actually people who make the medium rich. And it's the it's the younger generation. So the media expansion theory actually says, if you think this is rich, you can make it rich with all the emojis, with all the acronyms and all that, responding fast and slow. So
I'm sure that there are people at the moment thinking like, emojis, so unprofessional.
Yeah.
Capital letters, so unprofessional. Writing an email without saying, dear Mr. blah, blah, so unprofessional. So how do we juggle with this?
I think it's also given by the culture you are in, but also by the industry you're in. What I'm saying is there is this trend of shortening the messages and everything becoming less formal. So I expect in the few years ahead that the messages will be even shorter. And I think even today, nobody is willing to read a two-screen email. Yeah. But what I wanted to say is, there are many people who the last activity they do before bed is texting. And people actually meet their partners, they fight, they break up over messages. So it has become rich. So over to some tips, Satu, because the emoticons is one of the tips. Number one, I think it's LinkedIn actually, which enables you to see whether the other person is typing or not.
And Facebook Messenger, I believe, as well.
Yeah,
Probably many of them. Yeah.
yeah. And that's a useful feature because you can actually see whether the person is typing and then wait with your response. But I want you to know that how fast the exchange is has a meaning as well. And we know that written communication in general is less friendly. So the faster the exchange, the more rapport is being built. So if you have an exchange, let's say over WhatsApp with someone where it's like back and forth without pauses, it almost feels like the person is in the room. So
Mm,
I know a lot of sales guys are these days struggling with, how do I get my client to answer my email? My recommendation would be try a different platform, like your experience, Satu,
mm,
and see if they are responding. Do try to exchange a few messages back and forth. That way, it will feel like shaking hands. So you can use that synchronicity. There is a caveat.
mm.
If you are a slow thinker or an introvert or somebody who has to think clearly and thoroughly about your arguments, don't get drawn into fast exchanges when there is something
Right.
being negotiated, because
Mm.
the assertive guys who are more convincing tend to win over these
Yeah, I
fast
was just
exchanges.
thinking about that. Yeah.
So, play with the speed. A speed is a characteristic you can influence, and you can either speed up or slow down. So
Mm.
if you're not getting an answer to your email, you might try another platform. Um,
So text more means not longer emails, but just trying out different tools.
Absolutely. Try to get used to the platforms which are there. And it's not just saying, hey, do it because you would be left alone, you would be left behind. It's because the more you like the platform, the better the negotiation result. That was one research that I discovered. Actually, the people who liked the format more were able to reach better result, and they liked it
Mm.
more because they understood the little details and nuances. So do
Oh,
it more often. That would be my recommendation, and not necessarily
cool.
in business, but also with your friends and kids and
Just to get used
loved
to it, you
ones.
mean? Yeah.
Absolutely. And you will notice certain things that, oh, this platform enables this. I can
Mm.
see when was the last time they used it, which can also be very useful.
Oh, yeah, true. So going forward, what are the other things? Very exciting.
Yeah, the dark side of the of the force. I had some fun last year with this one. I tried with friends. I have to warn you, to send some messages with like 3 question marks or 3 exclamation marks, and I got a response faster. And what I mean by that, again, there's a research when you use expressions of anger, and that's a tactical anger. It's not a true anger.
Mm.
But if you and we use them with exclamation marks, question marks, but also capital letters,
Right.
you might end up with the other party actually accommodating to your request. So there was a research which said those people who were able to do this tactically got more of the pie.
Mm.
Um,
This one is so interesting. I know we've been touching upon the tactics before as well, just now more into the written tactics, but it's still the same. Like if you're expressing anger, are you or is the counterpart who is expressing anger doing it really consciously as a tactic, or did someone trigger this emotion in you? And if that is the case, then you're probably in the weaker path.
Yeah, yeah. And it's always interesting, I had this negotiation training at Stanford, and what they force us to do is do one of those exercises just via email. And
Mm.
the dynamic was very different. It was very unfriendly. And then we had a call with the guy, and we were smiling, and I was like, wow, this was tough. And we still kind of liked each other. But just the platform made it, or actually
Sure.
that's number 4 and 5 too.
Mm. Yeah, tell
Uh,
us more
it
about those.
it
Yeah.
it actually makes you read into it, so you think it's less friendly, and you
Mm.
misunderstand, you misinterpret.
Huh.
Um, so, at
That's
the master
dangerous.
Yeah, that's why at the master coaching we focus on, we call it the third ear. You know that, of course. We focus on decoding the messages and what could be the positive message behind, which is not obvious right
Yes.
away.
That's the positive intention that I always tell my clients, like, even if you're in a tough situation, what could be the positive intention of the other party?
And that's the key, right?
Yeah.
Because you're separating the intention with the impact and with the message. So sometimes I remember I was receiving some messages which were very short, and I thought, oh, this is impolite. And then I realized the person was at a meeting,
Hmm.
and they were just they actually bent over backwards to answer to me fast. But what I understood is, oh, they are impolite and rude.
Right.
So
Yeah.
don't read too much into the message.
How do you tackle that, by the way? Would you advise then to, if you are starting to interpret it that way and you're thinking this might be wrong, should I double check? Should I actually send them an email or a text to ask, is this what you meant? Because you were putting these kind of capital letters and kind of shouting.
I would say you could do that, but I would recommend that you change to a voice or even voice and face and visual. So
Right.
call them or have a meeting with them if you can.
Yeah.
Funnily, I got a message like this on Tuesday. Somebody said, "Look, I had a meeting, a tough meeting, and at the end, I got these two messages. How should I interpret it?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I didn't send them." But I recommended calling and sitting with those people to discuss it,
Yeah.
because then the intention can be made explicit. And that would be my last recommendation, especially if there was a flow of messages back and forth, and you have to stop. You can actually send the signal like, okay, I'll be back with you later. I'll sit down with the proposal tonight and I'll let you know tomorrow, so that
Yeah.
the other party doesn't interpret it as like, okay, they are playing with time now, and it's that's a nasty strategy. So
So clarify the process.
clarifying the process and doing, I would say, doing more of this to make all the mistakes in an environment where the stakes are not too high, because then when you negotiate something important, you will know what to use the WhatsApp for and what would not be a good idea to do.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, we have approximately 7 minutes left, so it is time to start taking in your questions. We can keep on chatting here, but please write in the chat whatever also your opinions. What are you thinking right now about this whole topic, and what kind of questions do you have, maybe for Pavel or myself?
By the way, I have a nice drawing. I don't know if all the other people can see it.
Yes, we can.
Thanks, everyone. Well, whoever is the author, thanks for that. It's nice.
I don't know where that came from, but it's yeah, nice, definitely.
Technology.
Yeah. So what is your favorite, if we're not talking about email, what do you like to use with your interaction with clients?
Me?
Yeah.
I have a good experience with LinkedIn, and that's mainly because of these sessions, because a lot of people are on LinkedIn these days. I've talked with some people who said, I never was active, but my company, my marketing department or PR department is actually pushing me to be active on LinkedIn because I'm in touch with potential clients. So I think more and more companies have this strategy of LinkedIn communication style. So people are there more.
And we actually have a comment related to LinkedIn. My understanding is that LinkedIn is purely business and formal way of communication. Is this correct? What is your experience and opinion about the format on this platform?
Yeah, you have noticed, and that it's changing, right? We see things on LinkedIn that we think, oh, this should be Facebook. We see funny videos. And I think it's kind of everybody trying to decode this algorithm of what makes a message read, and so that it doesn't sound like boasting, like, hey, we did this and it's a big success. So I think we're all kind of searching. I do agree that LinkedIn is a business platform. That's why I like it. That's why I use it. But the
We have
truth
some
is,
other comments here. Oh, sorry.
but the truth is, we can see the shift towards informality there already.
Yeah, I agree.
And
So we have more comments. So WhatsApp, very good with clients, more personal and friendly. They're always respond. It also entertaining. And then I often find I need to be careful with the speed of response. Well said. Already encountered situations when I replied fast, but I wish I had waited and weighed the words more carefully. And this is very typical. I think it's more common with some salespeople that to act fast than pull the brake. So maybe a personality type as well, but I feel like, spending some time to rephrasing and thinking, what am I actually writing may pay off.
yeah, and again, it could be it could be that there was a fast exchange, and you just continued, and you did that one step extra, which you should have kind of paused. So playing with the time, that's why I said, experiment with it, because I think we've all made this mistake.
Yeah.
Talking of which, the autocorrect is also, especially if you're using your smartphone, that can backfire.
Totally.
Totally. So just pausing before you send is a good advice. I
Yeah.
know it's simplistic, but
yeah. And I'm also going back to the WhatsApp comment. I think in different countries I've experienced, having lived abroad, that it's very interesting to see how, for instance, in the Middle East, where I was working before, a lot of people use WhatsApp in the business communication, but then in the Nordics, you rarely do that. In Sweden, I find that we're using more SMS actually compared to WhatsApp. And still, even that doesn't happen that often with clients. Maybe we have some more comments here. I think calling is better when the two parties are not texting in their mother tongues. That's a very good point.
True.
Yeah, it might create
I remember
difficulties.
the fun about somebody saying it's WhatsApp is fun. The fun is also that you can change your profile picture. So I sometimes contact a new client over the WhatsApp, and I once discovered there was this manager, a lady, and her WhatsApp picture was her in the bikini on the beach, and I was like, oh, is she aware that this
People
is?
are not aware, I'm sure.
This one actually was, and she said, "I don't care, I don't mind."
Okay,
And she worked in a very informal organization. So I think that can make you more human, but at the same time, I can
you
imagine.
need to be aware of the risks in
Certain,
different cultures, especially, I would say.
Yeah.
We are running out of time. I'll take these two last comments here before we wrap up. So Mo is saying WhatsApp is not common in Sweden. I agree. Email is the formal way of communicating, especially during the past year. The challenge has been keeping the dialogue going, since email lets the participant answer at their convenience. True, which might be several days after the last sent email. I totally agree. And Katarina is saying calling these days difficult. People are not available and need to schedule time for call. I agree with that as well. Even a short call, much better reaction on a message, WhatsApp, SMS. It feels like it's almost impolite sometimes to call people out of the blue. We have 1 minute left, and the people are always saying, thanks for the session and insights, gotta go. Have a good day. Have a good day, Rickard. And next session, by the way, Pavel, before we wrap this up, when is it?
Yeah, by the way, one last recommendation. You might want to try several platforms to find the one your client is comfortable with. And that would be my recommendation for those who say, hey, email is the formal way, but they just choose what to respond to. Next time, actually, we've been running these sessions for some time already, and we have some questions which we haven't answered, and also it's not everybody attended all the sessions. So what we'll do is we'll do the Q&A goodie bag. That's what we call it. It's more like a hat, and we will pull out the questions that you send us earlier, or that you will send, or that you will send us before the session. Mind you, next session is not Thursday, it's actually a Friday, and we are sticking to 8:25 to 8:55 because we know a lot of people can have their session at 9, and we want to give you some breathing time.
Exactly.
So that you can start next one well.
Yeah. Thank you, Pavel, and thank you for all the insights, and thank you for everyone who has joined. I'm going to officially stop recording now. Please do feel free to stay. We will be here for another 10 minutes to chat with you if you have any comments to us. Thank you.